Welcome, everybody. Episode 62 of Drum Education Live, and today we have the amazing Mike Dawson here.
Hello.
Yeah!
Thanks for the invite.
Thanks for accepting. I have to just say it's very funny to hear your voice in my ears now because I'm so used to hearing it on your podcast that you do. So, random, do you ever get anyone who's a bit too and I hope I don't fall into this category, but anyone who's a bit too over familiar and is like, oh yeah, I know you. You're my best mate.
Yeah, but
Because
you know
they
what? I
listen
like
to
that. I enjoy that. That's the whole point in me in podcasting is to make friends and family that I've never met, and then when we finally meet, it's like cool. We don't have to do all the awkward. Who are you? How you doing? We already know our story, and let's just hang out. Let's be cool.
I like that. It's very
Cool.
nice, very relaxed. Um, I'm going to just ask you what we ask everybody, which
Okay.
is drumming education. Do you think there's anything missing from drum education today?
Ooh man, you want to start there?
Sorry.
On what level? I think the university level, at least in the States, is got a lot of catching up to do. And that we could talk for hours about that. But I see a lot of just kind of archaic um, methods and stuff that I wish that, I mean, it's happening slowly but surely, but um, it should happen 15 years ago, in my opinion. Just getting up with technology and what does it mean to be a professional musician? What does it mean to be a professional drummer? Um, I went through the system. I got a master's degree in music. And I spent a lot of time practicing four mallet marimba solos. Why? Why did I do that? I learned a lot, but what do I do now? I play drum set. And that's all I've ever done is play drum set. So, I love the experience that I had, but looking back, I'm like, even now, because I teach some college, I'm like, we're not quite preparing these students for what the 21st century really means. How many people are going to get a symphony gig? One out
Yeah,
of
just
100,000.
just sorry to interrupt you there, but I think that's always been true for universities at a certain way because it's too big of an organization with too many professors and everything. So it's really hard for them to change and become more up to date. I think that's the feeling I always had about it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And then on the local level, I mean, everyone is having to teach virtually the past year and a half. So that has been good for us to have to suss that out and how do you do that and forcing everyone that I've been telling to get into home recording and stuff years ago. Now it's not just something cool to do. You have to do it. Um, and I think that's crucial. I mean, most of the work I do these days professionally is recording out of my home studio for artists around the world. I just did two tracks for an artist in Turkey, an Iranian in Turkey. It's like that's just the reality. And I've played, you know, 5 gigs in the past 18 months, but I've probably recorded a
Yes.
hundred songs.
That's nuts. How have your gigs been? Must be lovely to,
Yeah, I did a
doing
couple
it.
festivals last month. It was nice. It was like riding a bike. I was afraid my hands were gonna blow up, but it was the band I've been playing with for forever too, so it was just good to get back and just knock the dust off. But yeah, it was nice. Felt like everything is back to normal ish here at least. So that was cool. But I had to
Yay.
give up. I was playing on Broadway before the pandemic set in. I played the last matinee at Lion King before they shut Broadway down. So that is gone. I don't know that I'll ever go back to that. I moved away from New York too, so that era of my life might be over. But it was cool. So now it's like gigging isn't as important to me, and I think that's probably been the case for a lot of my contemporaries, at least here. The grind of gigging 3 or 4 nights a week doesn't really appeal to me. It never really did, but it was like I feel like I had to do it just to kind of prove myself as a professional. So that's nice. I can pick and choose. I've got other income that I've had to figure out how to make money in the past year and a half. So I think it's in a good spot. We'll see what happens. all the bands are
Yeah.
getting back on the road. All my friends are finally touring again, which is great to see.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that about proving yourself and feeling like, oh, I need to be showing people that I'm gigging and
Mm.
putting yourself out there. But I guess it's not very inspiring if you're just doing the same sets or you're not doing anything new. It's just same gigs, same kind of things, and it's a bit tedious, you know?
Mm.
Um, yeah, I've got a question for you
Okay,
about your music that you did because you released some music over the past year, didn't you?
I did.
Some improvisations. Was that like a complete reaction to COVID and like lockdown?
Yes and no. So before COVID, like probably just a few months before, I was talking to my friend Mark Juliana about the fact that I have no body or work. Like I have nothing that's me. I played on hundreds of songs for other artists, but nothing that's mine. And he did typical Yoda kind of response. It's like, well, just start doing it. Change that. So I was like, what am I going to do? I've got a studio at home. I don't have anybody to come over. Let me just improvise, play all the weird stuff that I normally do every day anyway. That's just kind of creative outlet that has no purpose in the world with anyone else but me and anyone who cares to listen to it. And that's just what it was. I was going to do one every 6 weeks for all of last year, but I only got two of them because then everything got locked down and I'm working from home. My wife's working from home, and it was just impossible for me to get into the studio because it was every day I was recording something, and then within every once a month I would pick 10 that I thought were somewhat listenable. So I got the first one out. That was kind of more meditative. The second one was right at the beginning of COVID, so it was very much just a spiral of insanity kind of an experience for. So that record, I'm like, if you're going to listen to any of those, just pick one or two tracks because it's an hour of volcano. That's kind of what I was thinking. Like, why do I feel this way? I was just trying to shake everything off.
Was it completely improvised then?
100%, yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, I
I think
couldn't
it's cool.
reproduce anything that's on either one of those, and I would never want to, and it was I don't even want anyone to listen to it, quite frankly.
You're like, yeah, I've released some music, but don't listen to the second one.
Yeah,
Just listen to like this track maybe 20 seconds,
But
and you
that's the
you get a
thing.
flavor.
The
yeah.
moment you
It was
say don't
2020.
listen to the second one, people will only listen to the second one. If saying no, it's much more powerful.
yeah.
Sorry.
I'm shocked that I've got anyone listening to it, but
But has that inspired you to kind of work more on the composition side of things and come up with, I don't know, an album or something?
yeah, totally. So here's what the plan was to do three free stream of consciousness improvisations just to get all that stuff out of my system. So then and then say, okay, now the next one's going to be loop based. That was going to be number three. Was going to be loop based, and then more. I have a bunch of compositions that I've written for solo drum set, but I'm just. I think that was the goal, was to get to the last one and present these compositions that I was just afraid to play for anyone. Because once you go into like composing for solo drum set, it's like now I'm in Max Roach and Glenn Cochi territory. Like I wanted to get there. Maybe volume 10 would have been, oh yeah, I wrote these pieces. Hope you don't hate them.
Set the bar nice and low. Please don't
Yeah.
hate it.
That's
Yeah,
very
a
British,
bunch of
actually.
nonsense
funny.
leading up to it.
Yeah, it is.
Is it?
Yeah. Just like, I'm really sorry. Just don't hate it. Don't hate me. I'll go. I'm just going to go.
Oh, you can hate it. I don't care.
That's very American.
Yeah, that's the not Brit thing. I'll be mortified if anyone
But
hates
it's a nice
it.
balance.
Don't know who you are,
It's a
but
very
please
nice
don't.
balance.
Yeah. It's like I have a detachment between the things that come out of me on that instrument versus who I am. The things that come out of me on there, I can't account for it. That's subconscious level. That's stuff that the world has thrown at me and it's coming back out. Whatever. Just don't hate me, the person, if you don't like what I'm doing in there. I
I
can play a
love
beat.
that.
I can play a groove. I can play songs.
I love that. It's like I'm not responsible for what I'm playing
Yeah.
on my kit. That's just
Probably
theirs.
your fault.
Sorry, that's you. That's your interpretation, buddy. So I want to just go back in time and ask you about your teachers and who kind of set you on your path to becoming the drummer you are.
Well, I can go back to the day one. My uncle, he's 13 years older than me or something, so he came up in the AC/DC, Judas Priest, Van Halen world. Always had a band, so whenever we would go to family parties, he would be playing. His band would play. So that was like number one. And then when he heard that I was getting a drum set, it was like, "You're my drummer." So he kind of just. By the time I got my first drum set when I was 9. By the time I was 11, I was at his house every Sunday jamming Led Zeppelin and stuff. So I would say he's my original teacher. And then I had a fourth grade school band. You choose what instrument you want, and I wanted to play saxophone first and then percussion second because I already had drums. Like I already had drums. I'm gonna learn something else. Well, the band teacher said, "No, you're gonna be the drummer." He made that choice for me. Had he not made that choice and I would have played saxophone, I guarantee I would have quit before college. So I have to give him all the credit in the world. And then I had a percussion teacher, 6th grade, I guess. Kevin Lloyd, he was my mentor for the whole time through classical percussion, marching percussion, no drum set. Very supportive of my talent, but also did not take any nonsense. So when I showed up to those lessons, it was like, you have to be prepared. So he just taught me work ethic and responsibility and all of that. And I owe him a ton for that as well. Got me into college from studying with him. And then in college, it was a bunch of different professors. I studied African drumming with Pascal Young, a Ghanaian master musician. I studied marimba with Shi'i Wu, master marimbist. I studied rudimental drumming with Aaron Guidry, master rudimental drummer. And then drum set, I really didn't have a teacher. This is the irony. I didn't really have a drum set teacher until I was 18. And I got a lesson with a man named Mike Shepard. He played with Maynard Ferguson in the 70s, and he was the original big band drummer in the U.S. Navy big band. And so I would go to his house once a week for lessons. He would pour me a Coke, I'd Nietzsche, and occasionally go to the drum set and listen to some records. Huge influence just on life, and he had so many stories. He knew Joe Morello and just so many stories. So just like little from there, it was just like chunks of mentorship with different people. I took a few lessons with the great Carl Allen, who just kicked my butt on straight ahead jazz. John Riley, I went to audition for him at 2 different schools and didn't get in. That was a very important for graduate school at Manhattan School or Purchase. That was a very important lesson. And then it's just all my friends. Mark Giuliano's taught me a lot. Zach Dandiger's taught me a lot. Matt Chamberlain, Near Z, Shannon Forrest.
With friends like that, why do you need a teacher?
Yeah, I mean, every time I talk to them, it's like I always ask them one question, and I'm like, I want to know something, but I don't let them know I'm like getting a free lesson on them. It's like, how do you play the bass drum? Do you bury the beater? What do you do? So yeah, now it's just peers and contemporaries and heroes that every chance I get, I'm just trying to absorb something from them.
I think that's great. I think what I've picked up is you're using the same word, which is mentor. And I feel like going back to the original question of drumming education, I feel like having a mentor is something that's so important and maybe left out sometimes. Like having that teacher who you might not even play any drums, but he's going to tell you a lot of stories and, just give you examples of life and drumming and how it all fits together. And I think sometimes that is missing, is just the mentorship a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah, I think that's the important element for me. The scene with Mike Shepard in particular, he just life. He was from Muscle Shoals, Alabama. He grew up with Roger Hawkins. Like he just had just life. And then when he played the drums, it was the truth. What came out of his body was the truth. When he played Connecticut halftime, that snare drum sounded like it was going to explode, and that stuck with me so much. Like his buzz roll, whatever he's doing, he's oozing life into his buzz roll to the point where it's like your hair is starting to blow back. So I've been playing that solo, but when he would just play a buzz roll, it was like that's what I want to do, whatever that is. I'm still trying to find it.
Right.
Behave.
Do you
No.
do you have a drummer like who influenced you directly to your playing? Like somebody you listened to the record so much that you this is kind of where I come from.
Yeah, I would say there's a few. Um, Elvin Jones for that same thing. Just I feel like he's speaking God through the instrument. Um, Matt Chamberlain, huge, probably shaped everything about the way I approach drumming and rhythm. Um, Near Z, just for seeing him in person playing the instrument so precisely, it set a new level of like how well can you play to a metronome. Like that dude sounded like a drum machine with no mics in a room. Uh, so it's like a combination of those, like the creative weirdo types, Jack DeJohnette, Elvin Jones, Matt Chamberlain, and then the Mark Juliana and the Near Z who just play so perfect and clean that like I want to do both of those. I want to play like Elvin, but also be able to play a perfect backbeat.
So, from my point of view, it seems like you champion the underdog a little bit. Would you say that's true? Is that correct? And
Yeah, yeah.
have you always been that
I came
way?
from a small town, and we were called the armpit of Maryland, my high school. We're an old railroad town. It was just I mean, the nicknames for this town should not be repeated. So every time, so we always had a chip on our shoulder. Our baseball team, we would play with an edge that, like, we won states 3 times in a row. Small, tiny little school. So there's always something to prove because it was like we're getting judged by all these rich, affluent neighborhoods. We're going to dirty, scruffy kids are going to their school to play on their court or whatever. So yeah, there was a bit of that growing up, just a chip on my shoulder of like, everyone thinks I suck. I better prove them wrong. And then once I got to the level where now I'm starting to, working for Modern Drummer, and like I want to find the companies that are doing it the same way, their own way,
Mm.
finding their own path, not sacrificing anything, not just chasing fame and fortune. It's like I want the ones who are given the truth. That
Mm.
instrument is you. I want to play that instrument, or I want to support that drummer. Campaign for him to be in Modern Drummer or whatever because he's tapping into something. Doesn't have a million subscribers on YouTube or something, but he or she is tapping into something special that 15 years from now we're going to be like, oh yeah, remember Justin Brown? Yeah, he's everyone's favorite drummer now, but we had him in the magazine 15 years ago. you know?
Yes. No, it really comes through, like, on your social media and stuff that you are seeking like the truth and there's no, it's no bullshit. It's not, it's just, this is what I like. Take it or leave it. And I just had a question to do with working with companies. Like for someone like you who is an incredible player and so many people and you're connected, it seems like you could endorse anybody you wanted to. And are you just staying open for freedom, like creatively?
Yes. I don't like the idea of committing to something just because. that again, that's not the way I approach anything in my world. Why would I then say I'm only going to play this one thing just because I signed a paper that says I'm only going to play that one thing? If especially because I'm doing so much recording in the studio on the other side of this wall. If it needs an old Ludwig kit, I'm going to use an old Ludwig kit, and I'm going to take a photo of it because I think it's important to show what I'm using. And then I might swap it out for a custom sugar snare or something. And I think everyone that I've met along the way has the same kind of thoughts as well. I've only been approached by a few companies that like they wanted to get me to commit, and it only took a 30-second conversation for them to realize, okay, we get it, and you're definitely not someone we would want anyway. I mean, if I was touring in like a big band, but then the band would be endorsed, it wouldn't be me. Um, so yeah, I never had any desire to hitch my wagon to some corporate creature. It doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, no interest. You'll never see my bio with like 25 endorsements in it. I don't know why I would do that. Unless they're paying me a lot of money, but we know that ain't happening.
When you're working at Bond Drummer editor, how did that, did it change your view of like the drumming world and the music biz?
Mm.
And
It did.
how?
It did. It made me realize how small the music industry really is, truly is, very, very small. The ones who are really making movers and shakers not in the drum industry, but in the music industry, it's very, very small. So then it kind of got rid of a lot of the frustration of why were my bands getting record deals, and because if you're not in that corporate orbit, you're never going to break through that. So that helped me kind of just like, all right, I don't suck. It's not like I'm not good enough to be in a band that gets signed. It's just I don't live in LA, or I don't have an uncle who's works at Warner or whatever it might be. So okay, that leveled that, and then it also shrunk. The industry is very small. I mean, I got into the industry 17 years ago, and I've seen the same product managers move from company to company. It's like, oh, now they're the greatest drums on earth. Oh, okay. Now they're the greatest drums on earth. Oh, what about those cymbals? Oh, you play now. Those are the best cymbals on earth. So it's just very small. It kind of just got rid of all the mystery and not the mystery. There's still some magic to it, but just the confusion of what it actually is and what does it mean to be successful. All of that was really nice to see. Getting to interview my heroes and hang out with my heroes and realizing they're just human beings that found a very special way to do what they do that was unique to them, and that's it. They can't. Like, I've transcribed books for a lot of world famous drummers. Like, they can't transcribe. Like, they don't know what the hell they're doing. Like, so even the greatest of the great, like, has some blind spots or can't write a sentence. I've had so many things come to my desk like, was this written in English by an English person? Like, so it just kind of, me being the insecure, self-loathing, small town American, it helped just kind of, oh yeah, we're all just people. At the end of the day, we're all just people, and we're all weird in our own ways. So
Was
just
that
get over it. So I
kind
don't
of
get
disappointing in a way? Because maybe you got into modern
no.
drummer thinking, oh, like this big industry, and then you realize it's not as big as you thought, and they're all human beings just like you.
No, I was glad to see. I mean, I was glad to see that CEOs of the biggest companies in the industry, they're not geniuses. They're just people that found a thing that they do really well, or found just timing. A lot of it's timing, but then also, sitting down with someone like a Steve Jordan and realizing, okay, there's a reason why this man is special. I mean, on everybody's records, it's not just the way he plays, it's him as a person. It's the experience of sitting down on the couch with Steve Jordan. You're never going to forget it. And that's when he plays the drums. It's the exact same thing. When he sits down at the drums, you're never going to forget it. So a bit of that too. So certain personalities, when I'm like, oh yeah, that's why you're who you are, because you've got that extra something, that certain quality that just brings people to you. And then someone like Zach Danziger, one of my all-time favorites. He plays the drums so weird and so unique to himself, and he's always thinking ahead. But you hang out with him, and he's quirky. But yeah, let's go get some tacos. Doesn't matter. He's not like thinking about it 24 hours a day, you know. But you see him play, like, man, he must be like just nonstop. Like, not really, you know. He's just a dude, a little bit quirky, but he's just a dude.
Kira, let me keep on this subject of the industry, if you don't
Oh,
mind.
go for it.
You were talking about kind of university level education being a little bit outdated.
Hmm.
Do you have the same feeling that the industry is a little bit outdated as well? That they're not quite up to the times we're living?
I do, and I think you can see it just by the demographics of who is in the industry, and you know, it's an aging industry, and I don't think we're properly preparing for the next, what's the next thing going to be. You know, I think I'm just shocked that high every drum set should come with some sort of something to get you into that world. Um, I don't play any gigs without electronics anymore. Nothing. I will play a bar gig and I'll have to trigger the bass drum just because we don't want to deal with mics, or we'll have to play to a track for one or two songs, or have to, if we're playing Don Henley Boys of Summer, I'm going to trigger that loop so we have some sort of production quality. And that could be playing at Joe's Tavern down the street, or a big festival. So that I don't understand why that hasn't just become what everyone has to do. You know, I don't get it.
Mm.
So I think it's just limiting your options to play. I mean, I've toured with kick drum, snare drum, and a SPDS. Toured around the country because that's all we could fit. It was three people in a truck. You know, like, that's just what we had to do, and it became a vibe. You know, and I wouldn't have been able to take that tour if I didn't know how to program an SPDS.
Mm.
And I lied. She said, "Do you have an SPDS? You know how to program?" I'm like, "Yep." And what I do, I borrowed my friend's SPDS and I stayed up a couple nights and figured out how to program it.
Yes.
Some things never change in the industry.
No.
Yeah. So I guess to answer your question, I think the industry is slow to progress.
Social media. Do you think? I think I know what you're going to say, but I'm not going to second guess. Do you think social media enhances creativity or hinders it?
It depends on how you use it. It's a tool, like anything else. I'm only speaking from, I've seen a lot of people chasing clicks and likes and buying clicks and likes and promoting posts that for no reason you don't have a product to sell. And I think that's the ugly side of social media, feeding narcissism that's in every human being. You know, you're seeing yourself and you want instantly to see it be better and better. Very unhealthy, and I think a few folks that I've seen chasing that too hard. It's like, what's your end goal? Where are you trying to? What's the point? Um, you're just playing someone else's music. You know, why do that? So, for me, when Instagram went 15-second clips, that was a challenge. Can I do something cool in 15 seconds? When they finally went up to a minute or maybe 30 seconds, I did 1 minute lessons. Like, can I cram a full lesson in 1 minute? That was the challenge. Like, I want this to be a complete, like, if you study with me, that would be an hour. Cram it into 1 minute. Sort of, that was called Insta Jazz. I did that. I think I did 10 or 12 of those. So that was like the format forced me to, can I do this? And then once I got long form, uh, it was every day I want to just create something I've never done before. I want to improvise something and post it and just document my progress on this path of finding my own sound. You know, in the beginning, I would do 10 minutes of recording and I'd find 30 seconds that I could, and then, you know, I was doing it every day for a couple of years. Now it's like, just turn it on, I'll play, and I'll give you something in a minute. It'll be in time. It'll be true, as true as I can get it. Whether I like it or anyone likes it after that, I don't care. But it'll be in time, and I'll play what I wanted to play at that exact moment, done. So it was just an accountability for me. I wanted to find my own voice. I wanted to be more creative. So Instagram was my outlet for that. Every day, post something. Doesn't matter what it is, just post something. And then look back and see the results. Which is probably why my numbers have stalled. But I've never... I mean, and I find myself checking it too much. Just because I want to see what everyone's doing. I think they should get rid of likes. I think that's kind of an irrelevant thing.
You can hide that now.
Oh, yeah?
That is something that, sorry
Can
to
I do that right
interrupt
now?
you, but I was thinking about this too, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do that. Apparently, there's an option in your settings now where you can hide it all, so you don't know.
Yeah.
I was just thinking,
who
yeah,
cares?
that's better.
I mean,
Okay.
I think it's the worst. It's the worst way to judge art. You know, like thumbs up. Get the heck out of here. What am I doing? Am I on the corner juggling? Like, do I need someone to walk by? Like, yeah, cool, dude. I mean, I'm exploring art here. Of course, not everyone's gonna like it. It's like, what are you gonna do? I mean, geez. Maybe that's the challenge. Go busk on the street and see how many quarters you get thrown at you. But for me, it's like I just want to go in here and express myself. Anyone who chooses to follow me, I'm assuming they like what I'm doing. I don't need them individually to be like, I like that one. That one's cool. Good God, I'm not
You got
selling
this one right,
for
Paul.
God's sakes.
Well done.
Oh,
No more
finally you
thumbs
got
up.
this one right.
Done. Good job. Don't know why I'm doing this funny voice. You have mentioned the past years changed your view on drumming and music. Would it be fair to say, like, having the space from gigging has just given you a whole, time to explore and reach a new level of being inspired?
Yes, very much so. If there's one gift that Mother Earth gave us, it's time to slow down and reflect. Thankfully, no one in my family got sick or passed away. But yeah, I mean, I was driving into New York City at least once a week, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week to play the most difficult gig I've ever had to play my entire life. It never got easy, and nothing about it. Getting there is difficult. Parking is difficult. Planning the show is difficult. Having a full-time job on top of that was difficult. So it was like, and before this all happened, I was like, why am I doing this to myself? Why am I creating this just unrelenting stress and anxiety to go play a show for a few $100? And on one hand, it was like, yeah, I'm proving to myself that I can do it. That was the first thing. And then there's no possible way to play it perfectly ever. So I probably did a couple hundred shows over the 2 years, and not once did I leave the theater thinking, you nailed that sucker today. It'd be like, you almost nailed it, but on the bows you missed something, or whatever it may be, or you were late hitting the freaking hyena in the head. Just there's always something. I'm like, dang it, the one moment I slipped and something stupid happened.
But would you ever say that about yourself? Like, nailed it?
Just the satisfaction of just not thinking about it would have been nice. Like, cool. There were a couple times I'm like, let's get on the bus and go home. That was cool. Fine. But there's always that nagging, like, and for me, it was like a focus thing. Like, I would get 40 minutes into the show, laser beam focused, and then just all of a sudden I would think about something. Oh my God, I almost missed a cue. Like dumb stuff. It happened a couple times where I was like ready to play. What am I thinking about? Holy crap. And it was like when the monkey hits Simba over the head, and I'm the sound. So I just kind of like spaced out and was like, oh shit.
God.
So anyway,
Wake up in a cold sweat.
yeah. So it got to a point where I was like, this is amazing, experience of a lifetime. It's made me so much better as a musician. I feel like it upped my level from like I can play the instrument to like I can freaking play. Like I can show up and be 100% from the downbeat, which I never got from just playing on bars and stuff, because it's always like, what do you want to play first? I don't know. What do you want to play? Where this is like that downbeat. If you don't hit the first floor tom note, perfect. You're going to hear from the sound man, you're going to hear from the conductor, you're going to hear from the bass player, you're going to hear from the guitarist, you know. So it punched me up on a level that nothing except touring has done to me. No practicing, no rehearsing, no regional gigging. Touring did that, and then having to go in there regardless of how I felt, snow, rain, hot, cold, if it's my 8th in a row or my first time in a month, and just crush it. Huge. But I didn't have fun. It wasn't fun. There was nothing, no moment of it that I'm like, man, this is so fun. I'm so happy to be subbing on a Broadway show that's just really freaking demanding. So not having the option, because here's the thing, I never would have quit, ever. I would have had to been fired from that gig. So I don't know, the next 10 years I'd be like Wednesday afternoon driving in the city to sweat my balls off and like play this show that's really stressful, and thinking, cool, I'm doing this, but I'm still not making my own art. So being forced, it was like, that's all over now. And seeing all of the entire drumming world come to a absolute flat line. And how's everyone going to recoup from this? How's everyone handling this? Who's going to find a way through it? Who's going to give up and start selling real estate or whatever? Was really interesting to me. The fact that I didn't sell all my drums and I still practice every day was a good sign that, okay, this is for you. All that questioning is moot. There's no other choice. Why would I have moved a truck full of drums from New Jersey to Pennsylvania if I didn't want to really do it? Yeah.
Definitely.
Cool.
No question. Drum Candy.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about your fabulous podcast. I bet no one's called it fabulous, have they?
No, you're the first. Can I put that in the?
Sorry about that.
Can I put that in the description?
Quote me.
Fabulous Candy. So I resigned from Modern Drummer in January, actually. So that was also something this whole year was like, what am I doing with my life? Like all that stuff. Everyone probably started asking these questions. So 16 years in, I'm like, I need to start thinking about what I really want to do. So an opportunity just presented. drumfactorydirect.com reached out to me initially to copyright for their website, because they're new website launching this summer, all new descriptions, photography, video, all that stuff. So I was just freelancing while still working at Modern Drummer, and then they were like, well, this is kind of like too good of an opportunity for us to pass up. If you can get to Pittsburgh, you got a full-time job waiting for you. Unexpected. And my wife had been working remote, so she's still employed by the city of New York, and we live in Pittsburgh. So we were both like, all right, let's sell our house and get somewhere more affordable. And then it was like, oh, well, let's go to Pittsburgh. I got a job waiting for me. So that super, super unexpected turn of events. So now I'm Chief Creative Officer for Drum Factory Direct. And one of the first orders was to do a podcast. So I created a podcast because Drum Factory Direct primarily sells drum parts and accessories. I was like, well, we've got to just make it a gear show. And I was shocked that there really isn't a drum gear show. Not that I've found. So yeah, the whole show is, originally it was going to be, me just kind of going through how to build a drum and how to repair a drum, how to tune a drum. But then I just started reaching out to my friends and like, you want to be a guest? And it just kind of became a fun interview show, because people are afraid to ask famous drummers the dumb gear questions. They're afraid. So I just ask them. So it's like, and then you quickly realize, just because they're famous doesn't mean they don't obsess over snare drums and everything like everybody else. So it's become a safe space for us just to nerd out like we're 10 years old again. What's your favorite snare drum? What's your favorite snare sound? How do you tune your drum? I mean, I I got Carter McLean to tap on his snare drum so we can actually hear the notes. I mean, so it's just a show for just the ultimate drum nerd, and that's the way it's going to be. I don't want it to get too serious. It's just, let's just talk gear. I've got some. We're on our 10th episode this week, which is shocking. So I started out with my friends, and then started weaving in some of my friends / heroes, and then I'm going to go to my heroes next. Hopefully, I've got three committed already. So I'm working my way up to Steve Jordan coming on the show. We'll see if I can do that.
Yeah.
Cool.
No, it's
Who's a gearhead? He's a geek like everybody else.
Excellent.
Well, I've got a question about that because I like my drums. I like the gear, but I do feel a little bit intimidated. Like, I don't know, like, all the specifics sometimes. I want to, but I just sometimes don't. And so, have you met a drummer and you thought, oh, they'll know, and they don't? They're just like, well, I've got this, but it's not as detailed as maybe you thought they would be.
I'm going to say almost everyone hasn't thought about it as much as I have.
Good. That's reassuring. That's reassuring to me because I'm just like listening, like
Makes me feel good now.
I have a freaking clue, man. Don't ask me about my shit. I don't know. Come and tell me.
I found that because my job for so long was so unique, where I had to review and test and go as deep as I possibly could on everything. Who has had that experience? Like I've tested every drum that's come out, every drum and cymbal that's come out in the past 16 years, and had to figure out a way to assess its quality and merit. So it's just my unique professional experience is just, unless you own a drum shop, it's just like no other. The only one I've found who's topped me is Jason McGarr from Death Cab for Cutie. Oh. He worked at a drum shop, so he went even deeper than I did on the vintage stuff. So talking to him was like, oh wow, I've met my match. We're like got our lightsabers out here. But yeah, usually it's just I use what I use and I like what I use and here's how I use it, and I mean that's what it is. But yeah, some of my this is just surreal, but some of my favorite drummers on earth are calling me like, what do you think about this? Should I get this? Should I get this? That's been surreal. Like helping them find vintage drums and that sort of thing.
Cool.
So yeah, awesome. I guess I'm the king geek at this moment.
It's good. It's good. Yeah, it's like people don't know. They're like, well, let's ask you. You know what we're talking about.
True. Kira, that time of the podcast.
Our last question. Thank you so much for coming on here and taking some time to chat to us. Last question. Oh dear. You know what? I'm just going to ask you about what you practice every day. I think I read somewhere, probably on your Instagram. I'm not stalking you. And you're going to make this into a clip, Felipe.
Yes, you are. We know you work.
This is going to be the trailer.
Of course it is.
I'm stalking you. Yes, that's what I do all day. What is your daily practice? What is the thing that you do to keep?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. Keep it all going. I'm glad you asked that question because this is what I teach and what I espouse to everyone that I meet. Because in the past 10 years, I've taken a very not quote unquote a very militant approach to a daily routine. How they kind of Lion King related, where we're gonna do every day. So if I'm literally eating an ice cream cone and Carter says, "Can you get to the theater in a half hour?" Yep, let me go do it and let me just kill it. I did go to a couple shows in my pajamas, like I was on the couch chilling, and he's like, "I can't get there. Can you get there?" And I did. So I had to develop a daily calibration. Like, I know if I can play these things at this tempo, with this amount of this sound, quality of sound and relaxation, I can play the show and not fall apart. So every single day, I do not miss a day, maybe one every 2 or 3 weeks. I do Benny Greb's. It's just a grid routine, but Benny Greb put it into a DVD. His triplet version of the drumming vocabulary with all the variations. So triplets with accents on all the possible placements, diddles, tap rolls, flams, and then 30-second notes. I do that 3 different tempos, 130, 140, 150, and I'm trying to do 155 with the metronome on the third partial and then on the second partial. So I'm working on timing, technique, independence, fluidity, all that stuff at once. So I do that every single day. And then I play 3 rudimental snare solos with the Knockbox app, which is a $1 app. It's just a metronome that it just drops out every once in a while. So I put that on and I play 3 camps. I play Rolling Rhythm, I play Roughing the Drag, and sometimes Connecticut Halftime with that metronome at 120 every single day. And it just drops out randomly. So I'm having to, just again, working on timing, fluidity, confidence, and my strength of double stroke rolls and all that every single day. And then I used to do Bill Bachman's single stroke builder. Not anymore. That was a few years back. But those are the core things. Benny Greb's triplet version of the language of drumming, all the variations, 3 different tempos. Click on the third partial, second partial, and then I play 2 or 3 rudimental solos.
Do you do anything for your feet?
Just try to tap the quarter note.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Which is challenging with the Benny Greb stuff. If the click is going 1, 2, 3, 4, my foot has to do this. Yeah. While I'm playing all that. So I don't need any more with the feet. Just to be able to tap a quarter note is hard enough.
It is.
And then, okay, so that's on the pad every single day. And then every single day I'm in here, no holds barred, whatever happens. 10 minutes.
Can we see in there?
Can you see it?
A little bit.
It's a bebop kit. This is a clear sonic booth. And I've got just a small bebop kit, Yamaha E8010, and just a bunch of, I've got a loop pedal and pads and stuff. So I just every day come down, pick up an implement, mallets, brushes, sticks, whatever, maybe create a loop on the pad, maybe not, and just improvise. 10, 15 minutes every day until I get to a point. It usually takes 30 seconds to get into that headspace of creativity. And then I just try to stay there for like 10 minutes. And that's it. So every day it's like strict military style practice. And then I consider this my art studio. And now I just come down here and make a Jackson Pollock and go on with my day.
Cool.
I love it.
Excellent. Okay, boss. Thank you very much. It was really good. Really good. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much.